morning, Rodney. I love you. And good morning to anybody watching this. I hope you have a good day. 24 more days. What a good weekend. Tough week. Worked through it by prayer, going to church, going to the gym, talking about it, doing these videos, going on a hike. I've got like a couple forms of meditation that work for me. One is the gym. I put my headphones in and I for an hour to an hour and a half, sometimes two, I focus on just that. It takes me away from all my problems. The other form of meditation I have is I go on these hikes. Some of them are intense. I'm not thinking about my problems when I'm climbing a mountain, when I'm climbing a hill, when I can barely breathe and I'm still pushing through. The last thing I'm thinking about is my problems. It's something I recommend. If you're watching this and you're not sure quite how to get out of your head, try one of those things. Try walking on a trail where you have to go climb up the trail. For me, if it's intense and I'm out of breath, I'm not thinking about my bills. I'm not thinking about my past. I'm not worried about what's going on in the future. I'm not worried about if they like me or what they're thinking about me. All I'm thinking about is I need to get up this, and I'm breathing hard and I'm drinking water. So it's definitely a wonderful form of meditation. It's up there with yoga. The challenge that I have with yoga and sitting there in silence, and I know it's a practice, is not thinking about anything but breathing. I know that when I'm doing something that's strenuous, I'm not thinking about anything but the activity that I'm doing. But these are forms of meditation that have worked for me for almost a year now. I have 24 more days and I'll have 1 year. I have 25 more days and I'll have a year and a day. And I need to keep remembering the year and a day. The year is not it's over. I'm done. I made it. That's not what it is. The year is a milestone that for so long, for the last couple of years, I didn't think I'd get to. I almost believed it. In fact, I did believe it. I didn't think I could get back to where I was. And I'm glad that I didn't get back to where I was, and I'm where I am. I'm truly grateful that I'm not exactly where I was when I got that first year clean originally. This is different. There's the self-discovery that I've found within myself in terms of trials and tribulations has been amazing. I don't recommend people putting themselves through pain emotionally and mentally. I don't recommend that, but I do recommend working through them when you do, and working through them healthy. My whole life I spent when something happened that was really intense for me, like my mom dying, or moving, or insecurities. I always drank through them, or I did drugs through them. That is how I coped. And it could be as small as pot. If I got into an argument with somebody, I smoked a bowl, and then I didn't think about it. It's not working through it. That's just putting it to the side. I put enough things to the side, and then it's just too much to handle. Then I need something that's heavier, something that's stronger. Now I know when I'm going through something like I did in the last couple of weeks, somebody didn't want to talk to me anymore, or they didn't, or they couldn't. Instead of sitting here what did I do wrong? I went to the gym. I went on a trail. And it's amazing how connecting with my higher power, because that's what I'm doing. When I do that, connecting with God, when I do that, the answers are there. God gives me the answers while I'm pushing through something where I can barely breathe. And what's amazing is the walk and the hike that I was going to go on. It's as simple as this. We were headed to something called Mount Baker. I had it in my phone. It took me to downtown Seattle. You know what I got to see in downtown Seattle? My disease at work with everybody. I stopped at a Krispy Kreme's. I went to throw out some trash from my car. And when I went to go throw out the trash in the trash bin, I saw what could have been me. The pain, the sorrow. I saw that at the lowest form for me. My heart goes out to that individual. On my way to somewhere, because I am working towards not just staying clean, not just getting clean, but living clean. Doing things that I never thought I would do, like going on a hike. At my age, if you would have asked me when I was 36 that in my late 40s, would I be going on hikes up Mount Rainier into like lakes and everything, I would have said, no way. By that time, I wouldn't even have the energy to. We start small. I started out with 20 push-ups. It turned into 100. That turned into going to the gym regularly. That turned into going on adventures. If I would have did push-ups and went on adventures and all that, I would have done it for 1 week and then I would have been done. I had to do these things small. Getting a day clean, then 2 days clean, then 5 days clean, then a week, then 3 months. Each milestone, moving out of the house, moving into another house, not being in that relationship anymore. All of these things I did little by little, daily. And now that I'm on this thing, I'm not stopping. 1 year doesn't mark, okay, now I'm going to quit doing all this stuff. What it does is it shows me that I can continue to do things, but I have to do them in small increments, which will then turn into large increments. The confidence that it builds within myself, but the acceptance and the faith in my program helps ground me, because my ego can be so high. It can be so high. It usually is. I usually either worry if I'm good enough or I start thinking I'm better than. Either one of those two things are not good. Not for me. But also that I'm good enough. And enough, that word enough, has to always be in play. That word enough can either be negative or it can be positive. Or it could also be where I feel content and find serenity. You can use that word and you can tear somebody apart, or you can build somebody up with that word. Enough is good. When I was growing up, I used to hear enough is enough. And now I have to constantly remind myself that enough is enough. It can be said 2 different ways with 2 different tones. It can build us up. We can tell ourselves that it's enough. Or we can tell ourselves that I've had enough. Enough is a powerful word. What's even more powerful is if they. What if they? They is a powerful word. It's usually used, for me, negatively. I always wondered what they were thinking, what they are doing, if they like me. And I still worry about that. Rarely do I tell myself if they think I'm good enough. Because I feared acceptance for so long. But the more and more I go through this journey, the more and more I look at self-reflection, self-development, the more and more I tell myself I am good enough, I am enough, and this is enough. The less and less I give power to what other people are thinking about me. I'm not at a point where somebody could say something negatively about me and it just goes off of me like it's nothing. I spent 30 plus years letting that affect me, and I spent the last almost 1 year working on not letting it affect me. And like I've heard and like I say, you can't walk into the woods 1,000 steps and think you're going to get out in 10 or 20. Sometimes I was lost in the woods. I don't know how many steps I took. Years If I think I'm going to get out in 1, that's my ego telling me I'm fine now. I'm not going to sit here and say I'll never be fine now, but I will try to work on myself and tell myself that I'm always going to be good enough. One of the things that works for me, and maybe this will work for you, is that when I ask myself if I'm good enough, all I have to do is finish that sentence with the word Ferlani. I'm always good enough for her. I'll always be good enough for her. I'll always be good enough for my higher power. I'll always be good enough for my kids. I don't have to be good enough for other people that have nothing to do with what I've got going on. People that will say things and I'll be affected for days, weeks, and years. And they're just sitting at home eating frickin' cereal, not even thinking about what they said. But I'll be affected by it. Knowing that gives me the ability to accept it. And it's not acceptance where I just accept, okay, people are going to say negative things and they're not going to care, so that's just how it is. That's not working through it. Accepting that things were said and I don't need to know. The most powerful thing that has been said to me over the last 10 years is whatever somebody's thinking about me is none of my fucking business. That is a very powerful statement. I don't need to worry about if they're thinking good about me or if they're thinking bad about me. I just need to think good about me. And if I do wrong, I need to make an amends. And I need to feel guilty. I don't want to live a life where I don't feel guilty. But I don't want to live a life where I feel shame. My past is my past. All of it happened. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm never going to go back and change. There's no such thing as a time capsule for me to go back. So what I do is I work on now. We are identified by who we are today. If yesterday you did the worst thing that you thought you possibly could do, don't do it today. And today you're a better person. We only have today. I heard somebody once say that tomorrow it doesn't exist and neither does yesterday. Yesterday's dead. It died with yesterday. And tomorrow hasn't happened, so today is the only day that exists. It's the only reality. And I will destroy today with yesterday or the fear of tomorrow. And even now, I still find myself doing it. I can ruin hours, but I used to ruin days. I used to ruin years. I've got thoughts that I haven't really quite worked through of when I was 20, of when I was 15, of when I was 30. I've got situations that's happened in my life that I haven't accepted. And as I work what they call these steps, I uncover them so I can have a relationship with them. I had a counselor once tell me, he wasn't even a counselor, he was a not psychiatrist, but he was a doctor. I'll figure it out. And psychologist. I had a psychologist that I was paying to see the first year. He said, you need to you need to rebuild a relationship with your kids, with your child. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, your 13-year-old self, your 10-year-old self, your 16-year-old self, those things that you were shameful about, those things that you tell yourself that you'll never do again. Those are the things where you say, hey, it happened. I was young. Because I can let my 46-year-old self be destroyed by my 13-year-old experiences. A lot of my getting loaded had to do with not just my past, but the fear of people finding out about them. So going into these rooms and having people like my sponsor and people that I talk to regularly, where I share and they share, help me understand that I'm not alone. I'm not unique. The second I start thinking I'm unique and my story is different than anybody else's, is the danger zone for me. Because if that's the case, then nobody can help me. Then I can't do this alone. I've tried. It didn't work. I've tried for 30 years, and I've never been able to really quite do it until now. So you have what it takes. You're worth it. You're wanted, needed, and loved. And you got this. Happy Tuesday. That's all I got.